All right. Hey, Abby, how are you doing? I'm excited for you to tell us a little bit about your experience with Baby Settler. Can you just introduce yourself really quickly and let us know how old your baby was when you first started with Baby Settler, just so we kind of have a pre-frame.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Abby, and my baby was born in June, and we probably started with baby settler about 2 weeks after she was born. I think it was about 2 weeks. Yeah, so right at the beginning.
Awesome. And what was life like before Baby Settler?
Yeah, so in those 2 weeks, this is our first baby. So, everything was kind of crazy to begin with anyway, but she was having a lot of trouble breastfeeding. And, the support you get in the hospital is great, but it's only like 2 days of support, maybe. And you're getting, opinions and techniques from all the different nurses that are coming through. And lactation consultant has a different, technique than the nurses. And so, we went home and we're trying to do this all ourselves. We were triple feeding and, attempting to breastfeed every time. And she was just pulling away and fussy and really struggling. And so we were definitely surviving and not thriving in the feeding department. And so yeah, we reached out to Baby Settler, and I mean, within those 2 weeks, and it just like turned so quickly. It was just such a better situation very quickly.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's common. Like, a lot of times you feel like you're totally prepared going in, and then it's important to do that education first. But then a lot of parents, I don't think, especially if it's your first baby, like you don't realize. I don't know. I feel like sometimes we can do a lot of prep for birth, but then it's the postpartum period and dealing with like babyhood after postpartum that I know me for as a first time mom, like I didn't realize that there was so much that went
Yeah.
into it. And I feel like that's what a lot of people experience.
Yes, I
Um,
definitely did so much prep work on the
yes.
birth part and being pregnant and all that stuff. And then, yeah, the postpartum, like I did a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, the feeding, especially, like I did not prepare myself for that at all. And I don't think you can fully, but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely had no idea what was coming.
Yeah, totally. So you've already kind of touched on this, but can you give us a little bit of insight into like what was life like after the baby seller program and what did the program do to help you specifically?
Yeah. So, I mean, now we're 4.5 months out from starting that process, and it's so much better. I mean, I can breastfeed like no problem, and I know that the baby's getting enough and she does really well. And it's no longer like, okay, do we need to supplement after this feed? She's not hurting me anymore. Like it's so easy now. And there were so many times, at the beginning and in the first like month or two where I was just like, what's the point of this? Like, I kind of want to give up on this. And I wanted to try, but it was just sometimes it was so frustrating. And so now it's like I said, it's just we could just do it, and it feels really good.
Awesome. Do you feel like you've seen a connection between feeding and sleep and in your life have you kind of seen that? Cuz I feel like that's something that even a lot of healthcare providers don't understand, and so they don't educate moms and dads and families on this connection, and that in return really does affect especially for breastfeeding moms. Like there's a lot of information out there, but it's not really keying you into that piece of the puzzle of like the feeding and sleep, but specifically like breastfeeding and sleep. Do you feel like the baby seller program has kind of helped you with that connection?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we definitely didn't get any education like in the hospital about sleep other than like here's sort of the general like they need to eat every 2 to 3 hours or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I mean, the first like week of her life, we weren't even thinking about her sleep schedule at all until we
Yeah.
came to you guys, and it was like, okay, here's like how this schedule can work with the feeding, and we're still following that now, and it's just so helpful to have that kind of custom schedule for us. and just sort of a general guideline. But yeah, I mean, that's been huge for us.
Awesome. Was there anything in the back of your mind or like anything that caused you to pause that made you not not take action on joining the baby seller program? It could be price, it could be really anything. Is there anything that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like at that point, we were like, we just need help of some kind. So like the price and like all that kind of stuff didn't really matter to us, but I think it's more like more mindset stuff that I was kind of thinking about with this question. Because I think you think as a mom like, oh, I'm supposed to be able to do this, or it should be easier, or I got some education at the hospital, like maybe I can reach out to them again and kind of piecemeal it together. So I think that was probably the biggest thing for me to get over in reaching out for help was just that mindset stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's you're so right. I remember experiencing that after my first baby. I wasn't a nurse at that point. He's almost 12 years old. And I had those same, yeah, sometimes when you're struggling, you're like, I don't care how much it costs, but it's more
Yeah.
of a personal, like, well, like it's almost like you have to just accept help, right? And
Yes.
I think empowering yourself with the knowledge that you need so that you can feel really confident, like, okay, I don't need all these tips on Instagram. I don't need to rely on my friends or whatever, to like, I know the information. I know what's best for my baby. But if you don't have that knowledge piece, then that's where it gets a little bit that's where it can feel really overwhelming, I feel like.
Yeah, and
Um
it's really hard when you're in that zone at the
yes.
beginning to, like, try to piecemeal, like, tips from Instagram and, like, tips from
Yeah.
your friends, and, like, I was definitely reaching out to friends and
Yeah.
people around me, but everybody across the board was like, "Just go to a lactation consultant, like, they will help
Yeah.
you." Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're in that first couple weeks, like, you don't have time or energy to, like, be putting this stuff together yourself, so
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
just
a
do it.
great Yes, that's a great point. Okay, so to wrap this up, what would you say to someone who is thinking about using Baby Settler either for a consult or online course? Just like starting the Baby Settler program, like what would you say to someone who's considering it?
Yeah, I would definitely say absolutely use Baby Settler. It has been such a game changer for us. I just don't know where we would be without it. I think we probably would have given up on breastfeeding at this point. So if that's a goal of yours, I would definitely recommend it. And just the knowledge and the care that the team has provided us has been just invaluable. I think the custom um, information like the schedules and sort of the plan has been huge for us. And then the information, kind of supplemental information in the courses and in our dashboard has been so helpful too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. This is super helpful. I know, as a mom myself, like whenever I'm considering starting something, it's always nice to hear from other moms who have been in it. And so I really appreciate you
Yes, for
taking the time.
sure. Yeah, of course.